podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Ospreys Eyrie.
Hello and welcome back to the Ospreys Eyrie, the first one of 2024. I am James. Joining me as always is my esteemed colleague Iestyn, and back again, it is the man, the myth, the squidge, Robbie from Squidge Rugby. How are we?
I'm good. I'm well. Still well, just about. How about you? How's everything going?
I'm good. I'm still here. I've not been linked with any English clubs just yet. If you do see me popping up on like the Leicester pod, we'll know that the salary cap at the Wrap has reached its full. Yes, how are we? How was Christmas?
Good. Yeah, rather quiet one, except of the lot of rugby that I managed to watch, which was quite nice, and just spending time with the family, all that sort of stuff. And it was relatively quiet. Not much went on, which I find is a good thing, but obviously that's up for interpretation. But yeah, it was good. It's quiet and didn't have much on.
You'd think after all the rugby we've had from like January onwards, especially as an Ospreys fan, that you not want to watch the Ospreys v Cardiff on New Year's. And yet I loved that more than any other win that we've had this year. Like any other rugby match, like Portugal, Fiji, basically any match involving Portugal. And I'm just like, yes, I want to watch Lewis Jones running around in the mud in Bridgend.
But it's one of the great things about games like that is it's a novelty. You remember it in decades to come. If it had been like a 38-36 thriller, we would have forgotten it in 5 years' time, Whereas in 5 years' time, you go, you remember that game at the Brewery Field where the pitch was a state and then Morgan Morse popped up and was just class for like a minute. And it was the minute where people played like proper rugby. And the rest of it was like watching an amateur game like down your local club. And it's great. Like that was fantastic. And I will remember that for so long. It's like the closest equivalent, I guess, is the Cardiff pub team from a few years ago when all the players were in South Africa. And they had, to field school teachers and the embryo that would later go on to become Cam Winnett and all of those. That was fantastic. It was so much fun. And I'll always remember the Cardiff pub team there.
Did he get sent off in that game, or was that Beetham?
Beetham got sent off, the week before, and then banned. And then they brought in an even younger fullback who no one had heard of for his debut the next week in Cam Winnett.
That's the only other time I've seen someone be like heavily applauded and cheered after being red carded.
I think Josh Adams gave him a round of applause as he was walking off to encourage the crowd to join in a way. That was,
that's such a Cardiff thing
that's ever happened.
I'll say, that's the only time you see someone applauded for a red card, you should watch more of the Pro Day Da.
Yeah. You don't pay a fine, you get paid for red cards in Pro Day. That's why Callum Afoni's gone there.
I was at the while in the World Cup, me and Will, my brother, went to watch a Pro Day Do game because why wouldn't you? We went around everywhere we were and went, where's the closest Pro Day Do game? Because we've got to go while we're in France. So we went to Rouen versus Montauban. And it was incredible in all the ways you want it to be. There was no red cards. I think we found the only Pro Day Do game of the season with no red cards. But everyone is screaming for everything to be a card. The best thing about it is all of the fans, every time the touch just puts the flag up, just so the ball's gone out, they're like, no, it's 20 meters down there. It's 20 meters that way. At one point, a guy tried to start a fight with us and I realized we don't speak English. It was great. No, we don't speak French. But yeah.
It's like village rugby, but with massive budgets, essentially.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like bloody Rocket and Goonie was playing. Joaquin Tugale's shit brother. Remember him?
Oh yeah.
Like,
imagine being the worst Tugale.
It was fantastic. It was everything you possibly want. Both teams just had a 10 with like a 70-meter boot who could do nothing else except for kick it. It was great.
Oh, brilliant. And yesterday you've covered, was it your 800th Premiership game of the year, is it?
Well, I covered 3 over Christmas,
Ooh.
which saw Pontypridd receive 2 red cards in one match,
Yes.
then lose the other 2 by a point. So that kind of sums up the Welsh Prem in a way, because yeah, those 3 games happened, and in fairness, even though they were 3 defeats, I thought they did play quite well, and it was.
But they actually won because they have the most affinity of
Well,
any club.
that's up for debate. I I used to get involved. No, I don't get involved in those. Um, but yeah. Well, then they got Neath on the weekend, who are starting to pick up a couple of wins here and there. So it's
Speaking of Neath, the under-18s are currently 12 all. The Dragons did eventually score. They see Ospreys are up against it in the penalty count right now. I'll put it that way. But let's, before we go back into Pro D2, let's talk news, because we've actually got some big news coming out of the Ospreys. We have a CEO. Out of nowhere, we have a CEO as well. We had no inkling that this was going on. We did not know that we were even in the hunt for one. We didn't even know if it was in the budget. But alas, Lance Bradley, former Gloucester managing director and CEO and former head honcho of Mitsubishi, has joined on to become our CEO. Yeah, it's quite exciting because he's good at the rugby. Like, he's a genuine, proven track record of leading a club from, let's be fair, not having a pot to piss in to having a pot to piss in that had, Adam Hastings in it and, Santi Carreras.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that, Iestyn?
It's a good appointment. It seems to be a rugby person as well, which is a good thing. If you haven't seen on Twitter, that he's actually at the Knoll right now, watching the under-18s as his first game as CEO, basically. So it's good to see. I don't really know much about him from his time at Gloucester, but he was quite vocal on social media, which is a good thing. And well, when I saw the announcement, I was just refreshing Twitter as I tend to do on a Friday morning, and then it popped up thinking, is that the former Gloucester chief exec, Lance Bradley? And it was. So yeah, I think it's a good appointment, and it's going to be quite exciting to see where it goes from here.
Robbie, how do you feel about having Lance Bradley in?
Yeah, no, it seems like fantastic news. Obviously, it's been about a year, just over a year, I think now, since Nick Garcia left, which time has flown by on that. It feels like not that long ago that we were hearing him vaguely talk about having been at Man City once. And that seems to be what he contributed, was occasionally mentioning that he'd met Pep. So, and obviously Nick Garcia came in with a really good track record in another sport, but, and in other businesses, and then got incredibly frustrated by rugby and Welsh rugby in particular, and didn't really know where things were going and how to handle the internal politics and, let's be honest, bullshit that comes with Welsh rugby. Where Lance Bradbury has guided has guided a Premiership team, a top level rugby team previously, through the most difficult task that a Premiership team has been asked to face in COVID, and also in being Gloucester, which shouldn't be overlooked. That is a difficult set of circumstances. And so obviously, yeah, that's a really strong track record for everything you say. Came in through Mitsubishi, where he was managing director there when they were a sponsor of Gloucester, and then, worked his way onto the board and ended up to being the CEO. By all accounts, really popular with the fans. Did a lot of fan engagement stuff, drove a lot of stuff. Having read some stuff from Gloucester fans talking about him, they said there was a lot of fan engagement stuff that then dried up when he left. Who's really at the forefront of that and really wanting to push fans and, get fans more engaged and find ways to bring them in closer. I think, having been a fan himself, very much understanding that. But the other really exciting thing, and this is something that he does bring up in the brief interview we had with him as a Ospreys CEO on the YouTube channel, is he was really key in bringing in and funding and properly resourcing Gloucester Hartpury, the women's team, who previously were just a Hartpury team. He brought them into Gloucester, increased their resources enormously, increased the budget they had, and was able to build to the point where last year now, in late April, May time, they not only won the Premier 15s, but Gloucester had gone out and bidded to have the final played at their own ground. They sold it out. They did the big Queen's Home renaming. And a lot of that was down to almost all of it was put in place by Lance Bradley when he was in charge. And he said at the end of his interview on the Ospreys YouTube channel that one of the things he was looking forward to was little boys. And he said, and hopefully in a few years, little girls being able to grow up dreaming of playing for the Ospreys. Because there has been Ospreys women's teams in the past. There's obviously the youth teams at the minute. It'd be really interesting to see how that goes, and if that is something he's really chasing, it'd be something I'd be very excited to see. And it is the biggest area of growth in rugby right now is women's rugby. So yeah, that's every noise out of it sounds really positive, and just having someone, it's one of those where you remember when, as it says in the press release, Wire 11 conducted a global extensive recruitment process. Right.
The Alan Clark
you remember the last time we held one of those?
Yes.
Yeah. And the person they found was Alan Clark, our defence coach. Was,
favorite ever press release is that one.
And the thing is, I actually believe this time. I actually believe they went out and they did an extensive search and they found someone with the right background, with the right set of skills, and with the right attitude to wanting to change things and buy into this. It feels like a good deployment for what this Ospreys team is building into and has been over the last few years.
I follow Gloucester are my Premiership team, if you want to call them that, and I followed Lance Bradley a while back pre-COVID. And we got to, I was thinking on Monday, I was reflecting, and I was like, George Skibbington hasn't got long left at Gloucester. And then I had a dark realization that, oh my God, they're going to take Toby Booth off us, and I'm actually going to cry. Because I was like, if there's a man who can get something out of that Gloucester team, it would be him. And now Lance Bradley comes in, I'm like, I feel a bit better that we might get another contract out of Toby.
We're going to get George Skivington to run the academy. We're just going to start stacking them.
Well, you look at the Ospreys under-18 coaching ticket tonight. It's James Hook, Bradley Davis, and Paul James. Can you imagine being an under-18 and you're just like, yeah, I'm turning up for work, and who's coaching? Oh yeah, my heroes.
Or my dad in one case.
Yeah, or my dad. Yeah. Do you reckon Rob Jones just keeps peering in the door at Clondalkin and like, you're doing that wrong, like David Beckham style in that documentary? Yeah. If Nick Jones doesn't do like a jump-in pass onto his stomach tonight, what is the point?
What's the point? We've been waiting 18 years for this. Yeah. 18 years plus.
There are dads right now with a perfectly formed tear in their eye waiting for Nick Jones to do a diving pass.
It's like we waited a generation for Lloyd Williams to come through as the exact replica of Bryn Mawr Williams. And I know will that just be a lineage forever of like perfectly decent scrum halves who spend their time on the bench for Wales. And Lloyd needs to have like a child who has a son, who has a son, who has a son. It just goes on forever. I'm hoping that Rob Jones is the same. And what he'll do is he will do, as you say, a perfect dive pass, and he'll just go and randomly start stamping on Nick White's feet.
Let's just hope our Will Thomas doesn't have a son and meets some French second row at some point, because that would be worse.
It's right. Big worry now. Dead ball areas are so much longer. He'll just run dead all the time.
Oh right. Oh, we could do this all day. Rugby players' sons. Who would have the best one? Who would have the best legacy son or daughter? Oh, right. In other news, the long-rumoured St. Helens redevelopment, rejuvenation, whatever you want to call it, seems to be picking up a lot more traction. Now, we've had nothing official from the university, from the Ospreys themselves, but we have had tweets from the councillor, Rob Edwards, saying that stuff is moving along. There are reports that the companies based in the Swansea RFC clubhouse have been served notices that they need to vacate by a certain time because of redevelopment going on. And Lance Bradley and Toby Booth said in their respective interviews that hinted towards it not playing at the Swansea.com in the foreseeable future. This can only be a good thing. I can't stress this enough. It is not an insult when you say to the Ospreys or Ospreys fans, your stadium feels hollow, or you don't get the fans, or you don't fill your stadium. We agree with you. Like, it is not an insult. It is something that we've known for years, especially since as our crowds have gone down a bit more, we have known that this is an issue. Okay, the Swansea.com has been a fantastic ground for us, especially the corporate side. As someone who travels to the game with someone in a wheelchair, in terms of disabled facilities, the place is fantastic, and we can't thank them enough for that. But we have simply cannot stay there long term. We need essentially what Edinburgh have. That is what we need. Is just if you took Edinburgh Stadium and put it on Swansea Beach, that is what we need. And that seems to be picking up steam. Iestyn, you as someone who goes around the grounds at Premiership level, your Brewery Fields, your St Helens, how vital do you think that will be for the Ospreys?
Yeah, I think it would only be a good thing. Obviously, you've seen the tweets from the councillors about St Helens, but I thought the Brewery, from the New Year's Day game, it was great to see a packed stadium, and I was very fortunate to be in the press area for Swansea against Barbarians back in May, and to see the terraces at St Helens full to the rafters was another really positive thing as well. So. It's probably everyone knows, well, anyone that's inclined to know anything about the Ospreys knows that the Swansea.com stadium is probably a little bit too big, but I feel like the stadiums where the clubs are at, it feels like those grounds probably need a bit more doing up as well. So it's nice to see encouraging and positive talks about St Helens. And hopefully it will lead to something, but who knows? It's still very early stages, I think.
Other than that, I don't think there is any other news for once. It's been quite a non-newsworthy Christmas. Injury-wise, we are pretty crocked in the back row. We're veering dangerously into AI-generated players now.
Apparently everyone is back at the end of January, though. Everyone is back the moment the Six Nations starts and everything pauses.
It can, if all comes to plan, we will have Don Morris, Toby Fricker, Cuthbert, Tipperick. Tipperick will be back in the next 2 weeks. He's training right now.
Okay.
To what extent, I don't know. Will Hickey's back playing for Swansea. So there's a good roll of injuries, hopefully back for that block of games.
Because that's kind of the key thing, is the way the fixtures have fallen. In many ways, the season is going to, and how the Ospreys do in the URC at least, is going to be defined by the Ulster game in the middle of the Six Nations and the Munster game afterwards. And those games have basically become must-wins. And if they win, then they're in a really good position to get into the playoffs. And obviously, there are going to be players missing with Wales. Probably not as many as there were last year, but there'll still be a reasonable number. And it begs questions. And if you can get a few of those players back from injury, Tipperick would be huge. Morgan Morris would be huge.
Will Griff.
Griff as well. Yeah. Do we know how far away he is?
Well, he was 6 to 8 weeks back in whenever it was, September.
Okay.
He can't be far off.
Yeah.
Who else was there? The Don Morris, Toby Fricker were the two I was thinking of as well.
Ratty's already back.
Ratty's back. Deeves is a return to play, so he should be back. I assume Tristan Davis was the same.
Yeah.
Again, not something we were really told about, and it wasn't really obvious in the day.
Reece Davis, we knew nothing about. We knew he was out for that one game or two games.
Yeah.
Again, and presumably he's okay, but
yeah, I think it would be broadcast a bit more if that wasn't anything other than innocuous. Yeah, so it's very
Hugh
much
Sutton's the other kind of, I guess, long-term one that's been gone.
Yeah, it'd be nice to nice to have that depth back again.
Yeah,
because I think this squad has the capability to cope with the big stars being away, like your Derby Lakes, your Adam Beards. Obviously, Jack Morgan's out anyway. We have the capability to cope with them. It's when you dipping into proper depth being tested, you know. If Ben Warren goes down, that's a problem because you've got Reece Henry as your only fit tight head, realistically. And Tom Boter goes down. Reece Henry then has to come across. So then you're bringing in, you know, do you bring in a Cameron Jones? No, not him. The other one. Do you know, James Kenny? Is he not ready yet? Type thing, things like that. So it'll be a real the Ulster game we have to target as a win, as a 4-point minimum. That Munster one, I think, is also winnable because Munster have 0 players left.
Yeah, this is it. It's going to be Peter O'Mahony on his own, who will also be injured, but he just through sheer spite will not give in and let them roll over the fixture. So he just turns up on crutches and just stands on his own shouting at them.
But it's such a. But we've got to go away to Leinster in that time as well. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm just getting shit. Is Josh Thomas available? Is he back?
Him and Sam Cross. Let's get them both back from Newcastle.
Sean Venter back on the wing.
Tom Haberfield, make it happen.
Yeah, you know what? He looked good in the Welsh Prem last time I saw him play. Nearly scored.
He's good all the time.
One of the best players in rugby, Union All League.
Speaking of the rugbies, should we talk about the rugby? Because we had the Christmas period. Obviously, you last heard me with our good friend Hugh from Pirate Rugby Pod and the other one who I will not mention. But yeah, we talked all things Christmas derbies. That was really cool. I wasn't that confident going into the Scarlets game just because of the history and things like that. But we won. We beat the Scarlets and we beat them at Parker Scarlets. We did the double. It has been, what is it? It's something like 2017, 2018 we last. It was
2015 was the last win down there.
2015 is mental.
The year where Dimitri Hayek ran from 30 metres and made one of the best high assists in rugby history.
To set up Eli Walker, was it?
Yeah, and we won by a point.
So, the final score was 25-14?
25-11.
11, that's the one. How do we...
Scarlets fans be biting your hands off for 14 points.
Yeah, 14 points.
And they scored 2 tries.
Well, according to them, they dominated the game. But I mean, it's hard to disagree in the first half. I thought they had a really, really good first half.
The thing about the Scarlets, though, is I never believe they're going to score points at any moment, even when they're lining up a shot at goal. Even when they're literally going over the try line, there's something desperately unconvincing about the Scarlets team. And
yeah, go on.
No, sorry,
yeah.
I thought you would.
No, I have some thoughts. Yeah, I agree.
And I think the other thing in that half, that first half, which obviously was not high scoring and not full of drama, but I wasn't at any point worried about the Scarlets scoring a try. And it's kind of telling the only try they did score was an interception from the Ospreys breaking them down.
This is my point. the stats will tell you that Scarlets just spent X amount of time in our 22, and ultimately they missed 3 kicks, and that screams of an organisation shot on confidence. Because Johan Lloyd is not a bad goal kicker. Like, even in the reverse fixture, he banged 3 from 40 metres out, like it was no one's business. He misses 3 probably similar, if not easier kicks. What, like you said, they only scored from a Rhys Davis offload, and Gareth Davis ran it in, and it didn't look like at any point that their decision maker was going to lead to a try. And Lee on Scarlet's Fever said that they blundered 6 try scoring opportunities or whatever. And I get what he's saying, but no try is a certain try, right? But you got to look at like that Tom Rogers one in the second half where he blatantly just a 2-on-1. I've got a screenshot on my phone of them set up in a beautiful, everyone's in the pocket and people can run dummy lines, and they take the entire pace out of the attack, and Sam Parry jogs across and turns the ball over. Things like that. We looked comfortable enough in defence. Craig Evans decided that Gareth Thomas wasn't scrummaging properly, and that probably hampered us a bit, and sort of how we wanted to impose ourselves on the game. But we came back from that, and ultimately we looked better. We looked like a better coach team. We looked better, disciplined. Adam Beard really outshone Josh McLeod in terms of captaincy. Iestyn, how do you feel about the game?
I felt in the first half in particular, you thought if they were up against a side that were clinical, they could have been 12 to 15 points down, if not a little bit more. I think the tap and go move that they did near the end of the first half, which sees Gareth Davis shoot out to the other side against where all the forwards have gone, because he sees half a gap, and I think Owen Watkin makes the tackle, which means the ball's held up. You think if they just kept that going through the forwards, you think they probably would have been there's definitely a better chance of scoring. So you think in a half-time 0-0, there was some good Ospreys defence. There's a couple of really good James Fender highlights in there, as James Fender continues to be the greatest second row to ever exist now. And you thought at half-time we looked good. My dad, on the other hand, mentioned to me, do you remember the time when McLeod scored that winner off a crossfield kick? I said, yes, I did.
The Steph Evans red card, yes.
And then, obviously, women in the second half, they scored intercept. So there might have been a little glare across the room at that stage. But full credit to the Ospreys then in the second half. They came back into it. They used what was their strengths. I thought Ruben Morgan went into the shaky first half. He got whacked in the head by Johnny Williams, and then came back on, and then he looked a complete better player. And and then we scored a couple of tries, which is always nice. And then Johnny Williams puts a pass on the floor, and Jack Walsh dummies Johan Lloyd, and hey presto, there's a winning Park Scarlets for you.
I think you mentioned the thought about the Ospreys looking much better coached, and I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. Yeah. The Ospreys look like they're coached as a team and as a unit, and hence why players can drop out. They can lose Rhys Davis, they can lose, the players a lot over the summer, even the Alan Wynne Joneses and whoever else. And they can bring in James Fender, who at the start of the season hadn't started a professional game. Harry Deeves, who again hasn't played a great deal. Morgan Morse came in right before kickoff and is
a child.
Yeah, legally so. Extraordinarily young team, able to bring these players in, and because they feel like a cohesive team and a cohesive unit, that isn't an issue. Where you don't get that sense in the Scarlets, and part of that, I think it exists at all levels in terms of how Dwayne Peel's built this team. They feel like a bunch of individuals playing for themselves, it doesn't feel joined up at all, right down to that Tom Rogers chance that she blows by not giving the pass. And there's a lot of individual glory going on type stuff. But beyond that, there's no real cohesion to the team at all. I think there's, if Hugh was back again, he'd be able to give the stat much better than me because I haven't got it exactly. But I think they've changed their centers for something like 9 games in a row.
The Dragons game was the first time they'd stuck with the same centre partnership since they beat the All Blacks,
2004. Yeah. Since Tim Swinson had that kick go over the crossbar. Yes, and that shows in the team. When you're constantly changing all the important combinations and no one's able to bed in, no one feels secure in it. And the thing that was really telling for me was at the end of this game. Was it this game or was it the week before? One of the derbies anyway. They had Claire Thomas on Viaplay who asked Dwayne Peel what he thought went wrong. And he kept going back and forth on his answer. And then she suggests something. He's like, oh yeah, no, I think it's that. And there was a clear sense of just like him not really knowing what he thought was wrong. Where when you look at even that Montpellier game or any of the games the Ospreys have lost that perhaps were by bigger margins or more significant, whatever, Booth's always had a clear idea of what he felt was wrong and how he was going to put it right, or why it wasn't anything to worry about, or why they need to change this or that. He's clearly got a really clear philosophy and idea on how he approaches the game. We're all big fans of Boofy himself here, but it comes across just whenever the Ospreys lose a game, and you listen to Toby Booth post-match, I feel reassured that he'll put it right.
Yeah, this is not a dig on Peel, by the way.
We're
not ragging on Peel. As much as I like to take the piss, right? I do like to take the piss.
I feel like Dwayne Peel would have been a very good coach if he'd got this job 2 or 3 years later on. I feel like he got it before he was ready, and he's now starting to flounder a bit because he hasn't been in this situation before, where Booth has spent a career at London Irish and a separate career bouncing between Bath and Quins and stuff, and that was on the 3rd career here, as well as having, lived a life before that where he was an electrician and he was an amateur player and he was everything else. It's a very different existence to Dwayne Peel, who's kind of, you feel he'll learn from all of this and he'll be a better coach for it, but he isn't there now, where I feel reassured by everything that happens with Toby Booth and dead on that he is taking his team forward consistently.
Fun fact, I found out today that the deputy head who is the opposite at the office right next to mine, who was a proud Leinsterman, Toby Booth was his coach at university.
Oh wow. Huh.
Yeah. So that the man gets everywhere. On that, another thing that is really noticeable from this game is just how confident we were in decision making. So there's the bit. So Sam Parry wins that turnover penalty off that Scarlet's botched overlap, so to say, and we go upfield, we win the penalty off a liner. I think it's off a liner or something like that. Anyway, I tell a lie. It's when Josh McLeod gets yellow carded. So there's a penalty off the liner, and then there's Josh McLeod gets yellow carded. It's a team penalty, but ultimately for no one's tackle. And you can see, obviously, it zoomed in on Craig Evans, and you could just see Adam Beard straight away go corner, and that's it. And he's talking to them about what they're going to do. They go to the corner. Sam Parry goes over eventually after 2 phases, whatever it is. That is telling in how good a culture and a side that's built on confidence, not necessarily that's winning all the matches. We've won 6 matches this season or whatever it is, right? But it's a side that you can tell like each other and want to play for each other. Now, you flip that on its head with when they went down the other end, there just seemed to be a lot of flip-flopping with what they wanted to do. And ultimately, it felt like they didn't want to take the points to go for the losing bonus points. I sat there, I was sat in Croydon in southwest London thinking, why the hell have they gone for a losing bonus point at home? If that was me, we were at the Swansea.com or wherever we were, I'd be fuming. if we against our biggest rivals had gone for that, and obviously it's easy to say that knowing how the game ended in Jack Welch going over, but at the time I thought, what the hell? That's I come back to it's an organisation shot of confidence, and I don't want to rag on them again. They've got serious problems down there. I don't think that they were as good as they said that a lot of them think they were. It probably was their best forwards performance of the season by far. You can tell they're a different side with the likes of Alex Craig, Fafita, Lousy. He didn't look fit, but he's so much better. They're such a better side with that. But then you look at our side and you think, by Christ, we were missing some names there. No Morgan Morris. Morgan Morris, I thought, showed glimpses in that game why he's so hyped up. And then, obviously, we know what happens the next game. Harry Deeves, man. That man. You can tell he's best mates with Alex Mann. Because they are... Do you reckon they meet up and just tackle each other so you can get the most tackle stats?
I don't think they do anything else. I feel like that is the only thing they're interested in.
Yeah, probably
stealing each other's possessions.
Probably through breakdowns as well to see who gets the most turnovers. Alex Mann doesn't wear scrum caps. They can't really say they switch caps. But yeah,
Harry Deeves' nan can't tell who he is.
Yeah, you see you see Deeves rock up next Friday against Perpignan without the cap, and then Alex Mann trots out if he's playing against Quince with a bright yellow cap from nowhere. It would be quite something.
It was, he's glorious. Any other standouts from that game for you?
Well, I think
Iestyn or Robbie?
Sorry.
Either one.
I mean, the clear comparison, the thing you were saying, is that Montpellier game in the Liberty from early in the year. They did the same thing. Toby Booth said himself afterwards he would have kicked the goal, he wouldn't have gone for the corner. But they did it, they backed it, and clearly it's a team that believe in each other and believe in that. And James Fender, I think it's the other thing you need to mention quickly. He was absolutely exceptional. He was outstanding. And his mum was even better on Reddit somehow afterwards.
Oh, Robbie and I are best friends with James Fender's mum, which is the greatest honour I have ever achieved. And I've got a degree and a child on the way. But I am best mates with James Fender's mum. He was immense that day. Iestyn, you wrote a piece about a nice little piece about Fender. Tell us a bit more about why he's slowly becoming that essential cog in that pack.
It was quite a long time ago. This piece. It was at the start of December. I can't exactly remember when I published it, but yeah, it just you can clearly see by James Fender that he trains with Adam Beard on most days. And I think I picked out a couple of examples from the first Scarlets game where he made a ridiculously good maul turnover right where I was sat in the press area. And you thought, you can see why that person's been training with Welsh internationals on, quite a lot throughout at the start of his career. And then, he even brought the physicality game to it on Boxing Day, I felt. And he made a really good hit on, I want to say it might have been Johan Nicholas in the first half, which caused the terrorists opposite to be an uproar for some unknown reason, because there was nothing illegal.
Oh yeah, when he hits Lord Voldemort and
he just
it was a perfectly legal tackle. Yeah,
and Fender couldn't have crouched down much more. I think if he did, he'd have been sent back a good few meters. But his maul works is exceptional for a young second row, I feel, and then you got the work rate. I think his carrying's also very good. I think it's different viewpoints. So if the game does open up, he's another useful option to have if you want to keep it tight, either be in the carry and open it up. James Fender can do both those sides. I think with the piece I wrote, I mentioned more about moles because that's what I enjoy writing about. But yeah, he just seems like a player that can easily open up and create things, and he did create things with that offload in the build up to one of the breaks. I think
it was his clean break. Well, it wasn't a clean break. He's not even credited with a line break. that one randomly.
Where you
I,
jumped off the second row and
I said at the start of the season, I think it was after the Sharks game, that I want to see Fender develop a bit more of a carrying game, because I felt like it's all great that he can hit and he can hit rucks, he can tackle, he can do all this, he can hit mauls really well, but we have arguably three other flankers like that in Ospreys, little whales, and then he just has, and then he's had this carrying game now, and he made that break against Scarlett and got the offload, and I just went an audible oof, and he bumped off, and a lot of Scarlett fans said afterwards, that probably was the difference point that day was then the second rows of Davis and Davis and Fender. And Beard, but you could add Davis into that as well, and essentially play as a quasi second row flanker. Who else? Anyone else from that game? Jack Walsh. A quick word on that boy. Really, really good composure to score that try. And again, that comes from that Mark Jones press of you look at that, and you can look at that two ways. You can look at that as Johnny Williams not effectively using what's around him to effectively create a three on one, or you can look at that as Luke Morgan and Jack Walsh pressing the hell out of someone and forcing a horrific pass, and then Jack Walsh sending Ewan Lloyd to Costa in the car park. He's a boy that's come under a lot of flack, and reading his interview with Simon Thomas this week, and you could just get the sense of you can see exactly why Booth has picked him up.
Yeah,
he buys into the culture. He's young. He's hungry. He's shown signs of visual improvement as well. To pick that ball up, he's
come on so much this season as well. Because last year there was something there. You could really see there was a raw talent there. And then as this year's gone on, the amount he's improved. And again, the couple of interviews you've read with him that are out there, the press conference he did, he talked about how much he wanted to learn about the kicking game and tactical side and when to play and when not to play. And because he comes from not just Australia, but also a rugby league background where he played both league and union. And that was much less of a consideration. And as you mentioned, there's a bit post-match, the press conference, Dan Edwards finds it really funny the thought of Jack Walsh having had to play in those conditions in Cardiff, in the brewery fields. Being an Aussie, he'd never seen that much mud before, or probably mud before. But yeah, the way Jack Walsh has continued to improve and continue to build his game has been really outstanding the last year. And this season in particular, and now I'm having to do it at fullback as well because of injuries, forcing him around and forcing him to move around.
Yeah,
he's started to look like a proper fullback, which at first he looked like a 10 slotting in, and then these last couple of games, I thought the Cardiff game in particular, he was fantastic at fullback. He looked really good and really started to link up as a kind of second playmaker, which is something that wasn't really working when we tried it a couple of times last season when they have had either him at fullback or they had Owen Williams at 12. Wasn't really clicking there, and then here it was, and here he's really taking to that role, and every challenge they put in front of him, he seems to take to it. And did you hear the story about his first week in the Ospreys camp last year? Where apparently his first week in camp, Alan Wynne and a couple of the other forwards were having arm wrestling contests, and Jack Walsh backed himself to beat Alan Wynne-Jones in an arm wrestle.
I rate that. He's instantly become my favourite player ever now.
Everyone seeing a young fly half turn up on their first week and go, yeah, I reckon I could beat Alan Wynne-Jones in an arm wrestle.
That's such an Aussie thing to do.
Yeah.
Was he on the phone to Nick White before or something and just been like...
He's like, do you know who this young scrum half who keeps standing on my feet is?
Yeah.
He says his dad was someone. He keeps trying to dive pass as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. Iestyn, talk us through very quickly talk us through the post-match reactions? Because it'll come up again later, but just what was, we all saw the videos. How did you review that afterwards? Just the joy and the elation. Did you feel that as someone who's, watched us suffer down Parker Scarlets for the last few years?
Well, ironically, it's the first time I haven't gone down there in about 6 to 7 years, and it's the first time they've won in 8 years. So I think there'll probably be some sort of order in place that I never go down to Parker Scarlets ever again, which would probably mean that if I do go down there again, the Ospreys won't win there for a while. But,
we'll lose 44-0 again.
Yeah, that's a despite the win, that is still somewhere in my memory, unfortunately. But I just felt like there was it was probably something that they looked at, and if you haven't seen this week where Duncan Jones is now getting rid of his curls.
Yes, I was going to come on to that after, but yeah, go on, continue.
And to maybe a different kind of hairstyle, which was set by the squad, which was the aim of getting that double against the Scarlets down internationally. So, we mentioned the organisation thing earlier. You can see how tight knit that Osprey squad is. If their set piece coach is willing to shave into a mohawk. So, but yeah, you saw the reaction full time from the squad. They're all delighted with the victory, and I'm pretty sure there's quite a lot of family and friends in the corner of the terrace, which I think S4C picked up at full time. I'm pretty sure I saw James Fender getting his photo taken by one of his family members with the man of the match medal in his hand. And yeah, you can see the tight knit of the squads, players, still speaking with each other post match and with various friends and family, and that's a tight knit squad that's deserved a win down internationally, and they finally got one, and it eases the pain of the 44-0 a little bit. Not it's still there, but a little bit.
I think it's probably worth mentioning that James Fender thing as well. So his mum is on Reddit, regularly shares updates on how her son's getting on. It's wonderful. It's very lovely. She shared a very excited post about her son being man of the match, which was fantastic. And lots of people then congratulating her and saying, how proud she should be of her son, including ourselves, I believe. And she was then very touched by it and was apparently reading all of them out to him in the car when they got home, was reading all the messages out and passing them all on to him. And she did mention that he has 3 other brothers who all play rugby. He is the eldest of 4. So there are 4 Fenders. What if they all come through? What if we have a full pack of Fenders alongside the children of Tia or whatever?
I'm pretty sure one of the brothers is a second row because he's in the academy right now. I'm not sure if he's in the 16s or the 18s because he's definitely not playing tonight. No. But
look, they are now 31-19 ahead, so it's pulling.
Yeah, I'm watching. They're currently doing an interview with Paul James. I assume he's just called, someone a prick. And
plugged his restaurant.
Yeah, plugged his restaurant, plugged his bar, and very nice bar. I will give him that. It's probably where he'll take the children after the game is to the bar. So yeah, we beat the Scarlets. So at this point, it was Boxing Day. I was happy with just beating the Scarlets. Right, I thought, 1 out of 2 on the festive derbies. I'll take that because of what happened earlier on in the day. So for context, Cardiff beat the Dragons by a cricket score. There was 17. They had their bonus point after 17 minutes. It was a massacre. There was a Dragons had a slight purple patch in the middle of the game. But it wasn't even men versus boys. It was the hydrogen bomb versus the coffin baby. That's essentially what it was. So I thought, oh shit, they're coming down to us. They're in a rich vein of form. They're sort of on that new coach Bounce. They've got seem to have a really nice culture down there with Shearer, who's actually bothering to do some coaching, and like he did down here.
Where Matt Sherritt, or Robert J. Oppenheimer, as they call him.
Yeah. So yeah, I was really not looking forward to this game, and then I saw the team sheet, and I thought, this is Cardiff going to be winning by a bit here. And the only saving grace, and I said this all week, was the heavy pitch. Lord, did I not know how heavy it was going to be. I'm gonna not going to rant, but I'm going to tell you about my matchday experience at the Brewery Field. So we've been to the Brewery Field before, me and my grandfather, with his scooter, and we stood in the main stand last time because it was dry. It was a sunny pre-season game in Southampton. So we turned up, and the front of the Brewery Field, we got dropped off, and I was lowering his scooter down on the winch, and a big bus turns up behind with the letters emboldened on the front, Cardiff Blues. So looking like the worst carer in the world and like some sort of anti-disabled activist, I leave the scooter hanging in midair, pull my phone out to take a photo of the Cardiff Blues team bus, which I immediately uploaded to Twitter because I am a whore for attention. And my caption was right. The best comedy writers in the world could not have made that up. Like that could have won a Golden Globe. It was so good. And I tweeted it, and fair play, over 50,000 views for our lowly little Twitter account. And someone accusing me of photoshopping it, which is my favorite thing, as if I could do Photoshop. Until someone pointed out to him, no, it's on the Scrum 5 broadcast as well.
They should nominate it for a Golden Globe, because then Owen Robbins can get into a whole other discourse where it can be, the whole, should it be nominated as a comedy or as a drama? And they've nominated it as a comedy, and they're like, is it funny? It's not funny to the people of Ponty. We're not finding it funny. This is a serious drama here.
They took our Golden Globes.
Yeah, he follows me on Twitter now, so yeah.
So we get that, and then we get into the stadium or to the ground. Walk past Josh Navidi, walk past Lauren Jenkins, and all this. So we get to the stand, the bit where the lorries are. Okay, so I didn't think much of the lorries. I just thought, it's the guy who does this. He sponsors the Ospreys a lot. The singer's in there, and they had the kit museum in there, so you wouldn't have seen it on the lorry that had all the kits inside over the years. Great. I thought the big conservatory just plopped in the middle of the ground was a bit more inconspicuous than the than the lorries, because I was in that conservatory with the rest of the disabled and wheelchair bound folks. That's where we were put because it was dry. Meaning we didn't really see much of the game because obviously it all happened down the other end. But we were dry, and seeing the Rugby Inside Line tweet, and then obviously the Barkley tweet about the lorries being there, and I'm just thinking, like, it's really not that deep, because the way they impose the photo is you've got 2 lorries there, but then you've got like 4 like food and beverage carts and coffee carts like right next to it, which would not have made a difference in the world. Like it was a lorry from the principal sponsor of the Ospreys. It was really weird, and the fact that no one mentioned the conservatory. How is that not more of how is that not more of an obvious thing to point out? It's a conservatory in the middle of a rugby field. Lorries aren't like they're known for being around rugby. You take things in lorries. You don't put a conservatory in the middle of a rugby field.
It's one of these things where this did not need to be a debate. This did not need to be a discussion. Someone should have tweeted, much like your bus tweet, should have gone, "Oh, that's funny. There's a lorry on the sideline." And then someone else replied saying, "Oh, yeah, it's owned by Jack Morgan's dad." And that should have been it. That should have been the end of the conversation. It shouldn't have been a 3-day discourse in which Scottish internationals are getting furious about the fact there's a lorry near a pitch. It was like like the pointlessness and futileness of rugby Twitter summed up in one moment of just, this is nothing. This is absolutely nothing and says nothing about the game. And yet here we are spending all this time. Well, the pitch thing you get, the pitch thing makes sense. Like, whatever, have your opinion on the pitch. Having your attention, needing to have an opinion on a lorry near a rugby pitch. I don't have that capacity. I don't care enough. I cared about bloody Keelan Giles' tries. I mean, I didn't get to see them because I was watching Blue Planet instead.
Hey, the commentary was brilliant. The commentary was fantastic.
But hey, no, it was a peak moment of, do we need to be doing this? Do we need to be having this conversation?
I felt like I was back in, like, if I had been plopped into 1995 when rugby turned professional, and I'm like, oh, this is normal.
Yeah,
and I like the Brewery Field. I think it's a fantastic ground. It could do great with redevelopment. But yeah, like you said, John Barkley. Look, I'm not going to bring up the fact that he was a Scarlet, but he was a Scarlet. There's bad blood there. There's also, who else was it? Tom Shanklin on commentary. Who, that commentary team was not my favourite. I won't lie to you. But Tom Shanklin have a random rant midair, that was weird. It says something when Sean Holly's trying to bring a modicum of professionalism to the whole.
Do you know he's a coach, by the way? He doesn't mention it.
Yeah. Do you know he coached Daniel Biggar?
Coached
he molded him
Daniel
Biggar.
Yeah. Yeah, he knows Alan Wynne-Jones. Do you know that? Yeah. Sorry, carry on. We had the Ospreys warming up right in front of us, and that was really interesting to see, like the work Duncan does with them. Even you don't see that. We're only seeing like 5% of it in a pre-match warm up, but you're looking at him like, this is Duncan was a very good player, vastly underrated. And yet he's brought this. He's now first team coach and scrum coach, and you think this wealth of knowledge. Like, why isn't this man been snapped up by Wales? He's the exact type of coach you'd hire as a consultant for a tier 2 nation in the World Cup. Can you imagine him with Uruguay or like a Namibia? Like, he'd do wonders. So you see that, and that was brilliant. You see like the intensity of how they train. Owen Williams didn't look fit. He was doing a lot of resistance training in that warm-up. So I very much thought that he's definitely going off at half-time. And then in the first half, the Cardiff players were training right in front of the conservatory. And the old ladies either side of me were abusing Rhys Carrier so much I thought he was going to cry. He had to move in the end, and they went down the other end of the try area, but they just kept screaming at him, saying like he can't scrummage and he's ginger. I like abusing Rhys Carrier. Right? He's also bigger than me and could probably fold me like a pretzel. So I chose not to engage in that discourse. This is why the new move to St. Helens needs to happen. Because that won a game. Rhys Carrier comes on and Rhys Carrier's had games where he scrummages very well. This was not one of them. He was atrocious, scrum wise. He just couldn't get his feet in at all. I'm not. You're obviously a front row. You get it better than me, but really made it. You could tell instantly the moment he came on. Cardiff scrum was just deteriorating.
He didn't want to be there.
No.
He clearly, and I'm going to say something. Let's move on to the game. Cardiff looked like they've never ever seen mud before, or a pitch that's slightly a bit shit. And this must be like a psyche thing for a lot of teams now, because pretty much all teams train and play on exclusively plastic and 4G surfaces, right?
Yeah.
Ospreys, I know, do their scrum stuff on grass. I know that for a fact. Cardiff look like they haven't touched a grass surface in a while. And that shows. Like a properly grass surface. Their backs out, like Thomas Williams and Tina Stabia clearly
Mm.
have, because they kicked brilliantly and showed how to do it, and can win it to an extent as well. But you can see their forwards just looked like, what, we've never done this before. And there was a bit of discourse around the scrums in the first half. I actually don't think Cardiff were dominant in any of the scrums. I think they had parity, but at no point did they have dominance. And weirdly enough, Mark Ring agrees with me.
Well, that is
that is
decided
something.
there.
Because Cardiff Rugby Life, who does a great job of gifting all the good stuff for Cardiff, tweeted about a penalty that Cardiff won. I believe it was Morgan Morse came off his bind and hit into the front row. Now, he's arguing that Domachowski, I think, wins that battle against Tom Bota, when in reality, I think it's more Bota brings him round. And it is an argument. I think they definitely had parity. It was more competitive than it was in the second half. Now, the second thing is, I don't agree with this notion that Ospreys played too tight. We scored one try as a result of forward pressure. Okay, and that was by our top scorer, Mr. Penalty Try. Okay, that was the only try we scored as a result of set piece dominance, as you want to call it, the Toby Booth way of playing, if you know, as people like to coin it. The other ones were some beautifully silky hands through the backs in the 7th minute, which saw Jack Walsh once again get decapitated.
Mentioned both Jack Walsh and Iestyn Hopkins.
Yeah,
who they take their punishment for that try.
Yeah, and Keenan Giles goes over in the corner. The second one, Morgan Morse, we'll talk about that try. But Morgan Morse runs the entire length of Bridgend. And then the third try, Dan Edwards puts a beautiful kick over the top for Keenan Giles who has to do a lot. So you tell me where the set piece dominance, comes from. So that annoyed me quite a bit, and it took away from a bloody good performance. So yes, then tell me what or who stood out for you in that game, and don't just say your friend Morgan Morse, because that was cheating.
I thought Owen Watkin actually went well in his 100th game. I thought, all right, maybe not the one of the standout players, but I thought he just quietly went along his business and played quite well. I did write about this piece, and I did mention about John Barkley and Laurie's, but that's enough of that. I thought Luke Davis in the second half kicked particularly well off 9, and I think that was kind of a bit of a shift the Ospreys did between first half and second half. It felt like they kicked quite a lot of Owen Williams in the first half, where Cardiff kind of showed the way through Thomas Williams, who was putting in grubber kicks, little chips over the top for Ben Thomas. And then you had Tabia and Cam Winnett, who were both very solid in the tactical kicking battle. And I thought it wasn't the greatest 40 minutes Owen Williams has ever had. And I do like Owen Williams, but the odd kick maybe wasn't going to pinpoint where he wanted it to go. And I think at half time, there must have been a tactical change where most things went off 9, and it did. And Tina Stabia had 2 handling errors in the first 7 minutes of the second half, 2 Ospreys scrums. And I think one of them definitely results in a penalty because, well, the second one does, because they kick to the corner and James Wortham gets a yellow card and Mr. Penalty try scores a try. So it just felt there was that tactical change, which was, good from Luke Davis, especially a young scrum half, up against a really good scrum half in Thomas Williams, and he pretty much enjoyed himself, like he said on during after a little scuffle, and Dewi Lake as well. I should mention him.
Built different.
Who hacked down in the back row because of HIAs to Harry Deeves and Tristan Davis. So I think if anyone in the Ospreys back 5 gets injured between now and Friday, Bradley Davis might need to call back up into the senior squad, because I think there's probably a little bit of depth in the second row, but if you want to force Rhys Davis to 6 and then you lose 2 more second rows, you're in trouble.
And Beard slots in at 10.
Well, yeah,
that's working out.
That's an incredible option. Justin Tipperick, can he play at 12 for 1 week? I know his thumb might be hurt, but that might be an option. But,
this is a separate thing. Is we need to just keep adding to the mythical list of like 3 times Justin Tipperick's played centre, which are just mythical occasions that everyone talks of in hushed tones.
You just need to show that try against France. I think Adam scores it during 2021 before Bruce Doolin does whatever he does.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Where Beard slots in at 10, gives a pass out to Tipperick, who puts a grubber kick through and creates the try. You're thinking, that's a good 10-12 combo, but it's a second.
That is the ugliest 10-12 combo that has ever been. There's like the anti, like, DuPont, like, Fiku combo on it. It is the ugliest, and I love them both to bits, but they're not lookers, bless them. Robbie, who stood out to you?
Yeah. No, because I thought the really outstanding thing, again, you come back to the same thing I said about the Scarlets game, but towards the end of the first half, I just had this sense if they can get in without conceding any more points in that last 10 minutes of the half, they'll be fine. They'll be okay. They'll work this out and find a way back into it, even though there was some way behind. I just had the feeling that the things that aren't going well, I had confidence would be fixed in the second half. And so that really stands out. Once the team have a chance to talk to each other and the coaches get in there, you kind of have a sense sometimes of like, actually, this will be okay. This will be okay. I thought, obviously, Morgan Morse was the big talking point, the big standout.
Yeah.
What a try, etc. But I thought the real guy that came on and announced himself was Dan Edwards, who I thought came on and was fantastic and just balanced that game really well in terms of decision, which I think it's one of these things that a lot of people would judge a fly half on their goal kicking, on try assists and odd things. And I think really the things you judge a 10 on is just decision making and when they pull the trigger and where they are and whether they're remaining connected and so on. And to me, everything you could want from a kind of mature performance from a fly half, So perhaps he wasn't popping up and scoring, the one try did in debut and the kind of things that I think a player like Costello will build hype for making the odd break. But actually, just in terms of being able to control the game, which isn't always down to just kicking the ball here or knowing when to kick or when not to kick or whatever. So much of it is just in knowing when to call a forward pod in or knowing to wait 2 phases before putting that kick in or just remaining an option at all times just in case. All of it, he looked like we'd brought Stephen Myler back. It looked like we'd brought a really experienced 10 back on, who'd been in the situation 100 times, and maybe it helped that he had been playing in conditions closer to this more recently than a player like Adam Beard, who's been on Lions tours, who's been to 2 World Cups. Maybe that helps, but at the same time, we're looking at a guy who's made 1 professional start, who's playing his 6th game of professional rugby, and even though because he didn't get off the bench in 2 of those, so 4th game, and that is a huge statement and really, really impressive. And I feel like he kind of nailed himself down as a proper option for the Ospreys this season. In the way before this game, he was a promising youngster who we want to keep developing because he could be something.
Yeah.
I feel like he announced himself as that player, as a great regional player who can go on to great things.
Going off Booty Bingo's sake, it's that time in the saddle.
Hey, yes.
I wanted to very quickly, I am aware of time because we've been going on for a good while. It is a bumper special, but because we've got a lot of rugby to talk about. But the second Keelan Giles try, and I plan on doing some analysis on this, is the smartest bit of play from a fly half I've seen in a while. So, those who don't know, Josh Turnbull is off with a yellow card. So Mason Grady has had to step into the scrum. Now, weirdly, they've got him packing down at open side. This is important. Dan Edwards receives the ball, puts a kick off the side of his foot towards the corner. Now, he is aware of the state the pitch is in. That ball is not bouncing. That ball lands. Keelan Giles, who's not had to turn, he's got full momentum, all he has to do is just knock the ball, and does very well, and knocks it into the try zone and dots it down. Okay, that try can never happen on a 4G pitch, because that ball bounces out or bounces, back towards Cam Winnett or somewhere like that. That is the smartest bit of play, and you can see, like, you can't really see because no footage of it exists, so it doesn't actually happen. But you can see that they're just looking at it. Keelan Giles is like, yeah, I'm ready for this. Dan Edwards is on the same page, and just to have that nous to do that and to drop it into an area where it's not going to bounce. Keelan Giles, all he has to do is tap it, and he does very well. Goes around, win it, and scores it. That's brilliant. That's exactly what you want from your young fly half, like you said, Robbie. Who's announced himself now as a player who's a genuine option.
His body language as well in that is outstanding. Yeah. The way he doesn't look like he's turning back against the grain at all. That doesn't look like the option. So obviously, as you say, as the Ellis Jenkins is not turning and looking that way. It's whoever's on the flank there.
I don't know whether they pack someone down at 8 or they pack someone down at 6, because there's no one on the blind side whatsoever. It's really difficult to tell from the footage.
I think because they had Grady in at the scrum, I would assume they would maybe had Winnett maybe a bit further down in the backfield and maybe Grady in behind.
Well, this is the thing. Men. So I would have thought, you'd have thought their scrum is not going well, right? Keep 7 in the scrum, have Martin in at 8 and whoever it was, Jenkins in at 7. So you have a full backfield to defend. But it looks like they've gone with Grady in at 7 and Martin at 8 or whatever it is. But it's not worked because there's no one on the blind side whatsoever. So it's really difficult to say, and look, I'm not complaining. Do you want to talk about Morgan Morse, Iestyn?
Yes.
I just want to. Can I just throw in my analysis on that try?
Yeah, go on, go.
Because I just think it's really interesting because, like, from my perspective, where I was watching on TV rather than in the stands as you were, which gave you really good spot. My analysis watching on TV was, look at all of these fish. Wow, look at that fish. It's a leopard seal. I didn't know there were leopard seals. I'm learning so much. They kill emperor penguins. Who knew? Who knew there were dangerous seals that can attack penguins? I'm learning so much. I wish I was watching Keelan Giles score. I don't want to learn things. I'm done. I know enough things. I don't want every day to be a school day. Take me out of school, please. I'm ill. It's snowing. Don't make me go to school. That's what I had to say about that.
That was your analysis. To be fair, this is still better than Gareth Rhys-Owen's commentary at times. No, I'm joking. Gareth Rhys-Owen is good. He's very excitable. Yes, talk to me about Morgan.
2001, that episode of Blue Planet was from.
Was it?
2001, apparently. On a brief Google.
I wish they had done pre-regional rugby. It would have had like Blue Planet with Affinity.
Yeah, 2001, the episode of Blue Planet and the pitch.
Yes, then talk to me about Morgan Morse. Your actual. When we say, like, we joke and say our personal friends, like Lance Brandy follows me on Twitter now. No, this is actually genuinely Iestyn's friend, Morgan Morse.
Yeah, I sent him a message on Boxing Day, and he said he was very happy with the Boxing Day result, of course. And he said that he actually scored the phase before Sam Parry did. So that's well, I'll just he says he scored, but who knows? And if there's someone that there's a young player getting into the academy, I remember a few years ago seeing him in the stand at the Swansea, the Liberty then, as a season ticket holder. And then if I bumped him during school, because obviously he was a year below me, we'd always chat about rugby in whatever form. And to see him, first of all, control a ball in that conditions with his feet, which I thought, that's quite interesting to do in those conditions. And then pick it up thinking, well, he's obviously going to carry. He's not going to pass. I've known him for quite some time. He's not going to pass that out to the backs at all. He's just going to run into someone or try and run through someone. And then he runs through two Cardiff defenders, one of them which was Liam Belcher. And then all of a sudden, I think Tamani was the second one.
Tamani was the second one, yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, he just turns direction and runs right round the beer and slides in from about 3 meters out with everyone jumping on top of everyone because everyone must have thought it was a breakdown. And then Adam Jones rewards the try with Dan Edwards celebrating on top of everyone in front.
Well, the ref had to tell the Ospreys off for celebrating too much. And it was like in their faces. But I saw that. That was the other side of the pitch to me. And all I could see was just an amalgamation of Brown run very quickly. And then I saw Adam Jones' arm go up, and I just sort of jumped. I had no idea what. We couldn't even see the screen for the replay because we were sat behind it in the conservatory, right? I didn't see it until I got home, and I'm like, holy shit, that is try of the season. Like, I don't care that there is no way a better try is scored unless Reece Carey runs it in from 90. There is not a better try, right? The change, it's not even a change of, it's not a sidestep, it's a change of direction at full tilt, right? That is so difficult to do. And when you're expending that much energy running in that mud, it's freakish. Like the fact that boy can do that. It's
incredible. And it was such a change in the game as well. Because the thing you're forgetting is the Ospreys had a long sequence of phases on the try line and been held up in the end. And at the time, I turned to my partner, who was reluctantly having to watch the game with me because they'd injured the back. And the soap had to be used. And said, like, that's it. That's the game gone. You know, like in a moment of pure pessimism. I didn't believe it. But, you know, sometimes you got to curse these things because, boy, did it work. But it felt like a big moment that Cardiff... holding the Ospreys out, you know, on the try line, managing to keep that margin to more than 8 points. And then suddenly Morgan Morse comes up with an even bigger moment of momentum swinging, which is just, it's within the context of the game, it's even bigger and even more impressive than it was as a clip on its own, which has obviously been shared around and praised by everyone across the rugby universe.
Yeah. There's no better feeling than watching one of your academy kids do it.
Yeah.
I think. Like, it's the same in football, right? So where I work at the minute is very much in the school I work in is very much in the Brighton catchment area, and they played an under-21s game last night, and a student scored. He's 15 playing for the under-21s, right? But and I was talking to a friend at school today, and he's known him since he was year 7 and stuff like that. And he's like, it's good, it's great because it's my team that scored in the under-21s, whatever. It's even better than the fact it's one of our own. It's an academy kid.
Yeah.
It's all this. And I feel the exact same way about Morgan Morse. I felt the same way we're watching Keelan Giles and Ruben coming through, the boys I was playing with, you know, and things like that. That it makes it that so much sweeter. It's probably, you know, with the same with Mackenzie Martin at Cardiff in the minute, same with Winnett. You know, these boys, you just like, yeah, they're our own and they're beautiful and they're perfect, and I never want them to change because it's just like he reminds me a lot of a Jasper Wiese type player, explosive, carrying, could probably kill you, you know, type player. I don't think we should harp on anymore about that game because we are running out of time. We've been going for a while because we've got a lot of rugby to talk about. I thought the refereeing was fine. I thought Adam Jones had a good game. Both
the Emperor Penguin was great.
Yeah, both Cardiff yellow cards were deserved. There was nothing. There was no big decisions. The pitch was bad. Get over it. It happened. Iestyn mentioned it earlier, but Duncan Jones has decided to shave his signature curls into a mohawk And what the beautiful thing is, they decided to raise money for Morriston Hospital's a department of Morriston Hospital to help with amputees, basically, that helped the former Ospreys hooker, current pundit, Ivan Phillips, who was obviously a part of that squad and would still be a part of that squad to this day, if not been for his tragic accident. I am going to get Lee to leave the donation link in the episode description. If you can give, please do. It's going to a great, great cause that's close to everyone at the Ospreys. I will also tweet out the link as well when the episode goes up. Earlier on in the week, I asked fans to tweet in their favourite moments of the season, so I'm going to rattle through them very, very quickly. Martin Lewis, friend of the pod, says it's got to be the reaction to the Scarlets game. Everyone ecstatic. Really, really good one. Iestyn and Robbie, who I assume is a Dragons fan, tweeted the instant highlights of Dragons versus Ospreys. That game never happened. I don't know what you're on about. Chris Jones, the Jack Walsh try against the Scarlets, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Dave, Morgan Morse's worldie. Yeah, that's imprinted in my brain. And then probably the underrated try of the season, Annette Thomas, Max Nagy's try versus the Sharks.
Yeah.
Where he charges a ball down with his face and then picks it up and runs it in. God, I miss that man. Bring him back.
He's a follower of the pod, isn't he? I think
he is a follower of the pod.
Yes.
Yeah, we now have Max Nagy in our ranks as well. One of us. Other than that, gents, I really don't think we could talk about much more rugby.
Well, can I mention my moment of the season?
Go, yeah. What's your moment of the season?
That Benetton game in Europe. Obviously, we're coming back to Europe this week.
Yeah.
That last minute, Benetton having just kicked that goal to get them back within losing bonus point range.
Yes.
And then Nicky Smith turning the ball over, winning the penalty to deny them that. Felt like a moment of marking, no, we're a serious team, get lost and go home. It felt like a proper statement of a Benetton, really good Benetton team who obviously second in the URC at the minute. Really came with intention to play and to win there, having won the previous weekend. And yeah, to send them home with, I suppose they got the try bonus point, but let's say metaphorically send them home with nothing. To really piss them off, felt like that was a really satisfying moment of, especially after Glasgow, because I think the most pivotal moment was the Duncan Weir penalty that leads to them getting nothing out of that Glasgow game, which, as I've made the point before off air, but if we close out that Glasgow game, we're currently second or third in the league, which would be ridiculous from the position we were expecting to be in, I think. And yet it could be on those margins. We'll see.
Yes, so what's your one?
One of mine would have been a James Fender-Moore turnover out in Benetton, but sadly Benetton came back and won the game. It was just before half time and he stopped them all on his own, and it was quite a pivotal stage when Benetton on the attack, but sadly they came back and won in the 77th minute, which was rather tough on a very young Osprey squad. But Ruben Morgan Williams' try against Zebra.
Yes.
That was going to be my one. That was going to be my one, yeah.
Because
I have to pick a new one now.
I know we've all mentioned about Morse, his try, and it is up there, but this is a real contender for team try of the season. With Nagy keeping in a kick which was bouncing into touch, then Tipbricks just out on the wing as he does, and makes a couple of offloads between him and Nagy, and then just all the inside support, and then Morgan Williams dives in under the sticks. And that was a real big moment as well, because Zebra were 14-0 up at the stage, and it kind of felt like, oh, we're actually in the game of rugby, because after the poor start in Connacht, you go down by 14 points to a Zebra, a very much improved Zebra side, and then you score a try like that, and you're thinking, oh, do you know what? This might not be that bad of a season after all. And it turns out that this season is going rather okay for the Ospreys standards.
I think that was going to be my one. So I'm going to choose a different one, and it's going to be the There's two. There's the most current social media video that the Ospreys put out where Dewi Lake's just having an existential crisis throughout the whole thing. And he's leaning on a fence deciding who would I phone. And he's like, no, George North is too famous. Gareth Thomas would just say no. But that whole video is perfect because there's like the clear like priorities of someone, because Luke Davis clearly is calling Harry Deeves to have a fight with someone. Same with like Lewis Jones calling Morgan Morse, or like, you know, Mark Jones is saying, "Oh, Richard Fussell's very diligent." You know, things like the clear priorities of what the boys are phoning each other for. And my second one would have to be Joyo, Luke Davis saying Joyo to Thomas Williams, because it just felt like, you know, Thomas Williams, this current Wales legend, you know, the starting 9 for the national team. They've just had this like mini scrap. He's putting on this big man persona. And Luke Davis is a little scrappy do thing that you'd find like in the side of a, you know, like stealing dusties off cars and like letting the air off people's bikes, just saying Joyo. That is the greatest thing I think I've ever seen. The best bit though of that is if you watch that clip before the scrap ensues, you can clearly see James Ratty ripping the piss into Reece Carey before a scrum, because Reece Carey is laughing at whatever James Ratty is saying to him. That's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. There's the best moment of the season so far, and I hope Luke Davis never leaves.
I've always said it. James Ratty, at heart, is an old lady in a conservatory.
Yeah. You're not wrong there.
That's a contender for title of the pod.
James Ratty's an old lady in a conservatory. Oh, gents, it has been. We've got Perpignan on Friday. It's on S4C. Perpignan are not bringing over anyone that's remotely good. They're not bringing over
Tommy Allen.
Tuilagi or Tommy Allen, or weirdly, not even bringing over Ali Crossdale. Who said that was a thing?
Oh, remember Ali Crossdale? Good player.
Yeah. So yeah, they're not bringing over anyone good. I still expect us to lose because we are incapable of doing anything good in a row. It all depends on what we've got available back row wise. I think make a big difference. I expect we'll see Dewi Lake back starting. I can see us starting Dan Edwards at 10, maybe give Owen a bit of a rest.
It's a good game for him to prove himself a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Bear in mind, we've got to go out to the Lions next week.
Yeah.
So expect much. Friday night kickoff, 7 p.m. to SLC.
EPCR have given us a 70% chance of qualifying from here. So you presume on their thing that they've put out on Twitter. So you presume, you know, considering Perpignan one place below us in 5th, they're currently on 23% chance of qualifying. So if we can see it out of a win, that should, by my maths, make it a 93% chance of qualifying. Could you just add them together? I assume. I don't know.
We need the Lions to beat Montpellier, I believe. I think so.
I think Benetton need to beat Newcastle.
No, so it's Benetton Newcastle, which very much looks like it'll happen.
The interesting thing about that, though, is that if Newcastle do beat Benetton, it gives us a better chance of getting a home slot. But if Benetton do beat Newcastle, then we're qualified anyway. So, you know what? Hey, take everything in our own hands. That's what matters.
Yeah.
Speaking of own hands in that Perpignan game, right? I want to give one update because the big thing that's happening, the most important part of that game, is of course the Barclay Lounge.
Oh yes. The Barclay Lounge.
Earlier today, I got a text from Bethan Marketing at the Ospreys. Wonderful, excellent, very good at the job, superb. Who is in charge of decorating the Barclay Lounge for this weekend? And she sent me a screenshot of her Amazon shopping cart ahead of Saturday. So it includes items such as a crushed velvet fabric material in red, a pack of 50 gold balloons, an inflatable palm tree, 5 foot tall, a golden photo frame. No idea what's going in there, but that's very exciting. And golden trimming to go around the room, amongst other items. It's going to be the most luxurious lorry in the world.
This is.
It's going to have
wait.
more silverware in it than John Barkley's career.
Yeah, probably.
John Barkley was a great player, and he's a very good pundit and seemingly a lovely man. I don't know why I'm going for him.
Yeah, but he also was a turd.
He just hates lorries. He just desperately hates lorries. Who can blame him? Every time he's driving down the road, if sometimes he arrives at Tesco just as they're opening and they're still stocking up, and he shakes his fist slowly at Greg's as they restock. The M4 is a nightmare for him.
Walking into the stadium and seeing like the TV crews like unloading off lorries, just spitting on the floor. Like, how dare you?
He's at this point, right? He can't even look Lauren Jenkins in the eye because he's like, well, she could go by Laurie. She could if she wanted.
Yeah. Oh, right. Gentlemen, it has been a long podcast, but I've thoroughly enjoyed that. That has been a really good first one back. You can find Robbie at Squidge Rugby on everything. Working through your Team of the Year videos at the minute. They are fantastic.
Yeah, I am very close to finishing the last one. I have about 30 seconds left to edit on it, and it has been a slog, I'm not going to lie.
Any upcoming stuff for the Six Nations?
Probably, yeah. There'll be stuff. We are moving office next week, so want to work out a big plan once we move there. So that's the plan. Into
a skyscraper, I assume. Or...
Oh yeah. It's luxurious. No, it's significantly bigger than the old office for not much more.
Surely
cleaners,
you can just buy Nottingham Rugby.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's next. Just buy that pitch. We've got to pay for the pitch to be fixed first. That's the problem.
The Ryan Reynolds or Rob McElhenney. You could find Iestyn at Iestyn _Thomas21.
Yes, that is correct.
That is your thing on X. You're also on Blue Sky as well, Iestyn. Same username.
I can't remember why I am on Blue Sky.
Robbie, are you on Blue Sky yet?
I'm not. I got an invite code from Tom from the Three Red Kings, the Munster fan thing.
I've got about 8.
Sent me, and I just sat there like, I don't want more Twitter.
You can't.
I know it's not
GIFs.
Twitter, but it's more Twitter.
The only thing is you can't do GIFs. You can also find me if you want to. I don't tweet much rugby Osprey stuff on my main account. Try and stay away from that now. Do a lot more film and stuff. You can find me at James Reese 8. What? Yes.
You reminded me. I haven't done my Viaplay film recommendation. Compartment number 9. Compartment number 9, a Finnish film from about 18 months ago, last year before, I can't quite remember. The director, it's his second film. His first film was called The Happiest Day in the Life of Ollie Mackey, which is a black and white Finnish boxing movie that I love. His second film, Compartment number 9, isn't as good, but is lovely. About a Finnish lady who is traveling across Russia on like one of those long trains that goes for like several days, and she sort of meets and like comes to spend a lot of time with the other person in the compartment who is a very racist Russian man, and they have a complicated relationship. It's good. But if you get a chance to watch The Happiest Day in the Life of Ollie Mackey, which is on Mubi, that's better.
Mubi, what a place.
I pay my subscription to 18 subscription services. I don't think there's much crossover.
If you want that, do that. But if you want to find me, I'm at James Reese 8. If you want to find the pod, we are nearing 200 followers now, about 180 followers at Ospreys Irie. You can follow the big pod at Rap. I'm on there every Monday. I record every Monday with the boys. Go listen to the other regional pods if you can. We will be back next week to hopefully talk about a European victory. And I'm thinking we come back next week with another themed 15. We had some good ones over Christmas. We had some, I think, coach themed ones. We had some out of position ones. I'm gonna have a think of some over the next week. But we've been Ospreys Irie, absolutely brilliant having you guys on tonight again. We will see you next week.
Cheers. Thank you. See you.
Thank you for listening to the Ospreys Irie podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to us, as it really helps spread the word. You can find us on all the usual social media channels or email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. And remember, whatever the question, rugby is always the answer.
Sports Social Podcast Network.